Roger, sir. That's a closed runway. That'll work, sir. We're getting the equipment off the runway, and they'll line up for that one.
How long is it?
6,600 feet, 6,600, and the equipment's coming off.
Isolate this.
Is famous for its dramatic encounter with volcanic ash and the subsequent successful emergency landing. Here are the details. On June 24, 1982, a Boeing 747-236B operated by British Airways Flight 9 from London Heathrow Airport, United Kingdom to Auckland, New Zealand, with stopovers in Bombay, Mumbai, India, Madras, Chennai, India, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Perth, Australia. While cruising at 37,000 feet over the Indian Ocean, south of Java, Indonesia, the aircraft unexpectedly flew into a cloud of volcanic ash from the eruption of Mount Galunggung. Volcanic ash is highly abrasive and can cause severe damage to aircraft engines and systems. All four engines ingested the ash, resulting in a complete flameout, loss of power. The aircraft lost power in all engines and began to descend. Captain Eric Moody, First Officer Roger Greaves, and Flight Engineer Barry Townley Freeman took immediate action. Captain Moody made a calm and composed announcement to the passengers, famously stating, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We have a small problem. All four engines have stopped. We are doing our damnedest to get them going again. I trust you are not in too much distress." The crew made multiple attempts to restart the engines while descending. At about 12,000 feet, they successfully restarted 3 of the 4 engines, which allowed them to stabilize the aircraft and climb back to a safer altitude. The crew diverted to Jakarta's Halim Perdana Kusuma Airport, where they made a successful emergency landing despite limited visibility due to ash on the cockpit windshields. All 263 passengers and crew survived without injuries. The investigation determined that the aircraft had flown through an ash cloud that was not visible on radar. The ash caused severe damage to the engines, leading to the flameouts. The crew's outstanding professionalism and airmanship were critical in managing the situation and ensuring the safety of everyone on board. The aircraft, named City of Edinburgh, suffered significant damage but was repaired and returned to service. It continued to fly for British Airways until its retirement. The incident raised awareness of the dangers of volcanic ash to aviation. It led to improvements in monitoring and reporting volcanic activity and the development of better procedures for aircraft encountering volcanic ash. The crew received numerous accolades for their exceptional handling of the emergency, and the incident became a textbook case study in airmanship and crisis management. British Airways Flight 9's successful emergency landing is celebrated as a remarkable example of pilot skill and composure in the face of a potentially catastrophic situation. Air Canada Flight 143, famously known as the Gimli Glider, is one of the most remarkable stories of aviation skill and resourcefulness. Here are the details. On July 23, 1983, a Boeing 767-233 operated by Air Canada Flight 143 from Montreal, Quebec to Edmonton, Alberta, with a stopover in Ottawa, Ontario. Due to a series of miscalculations related to the metric conversion of fuel, the aircraft was underfueled. The Boeing 767 was a new aircraft type for Air Canada, and a mix-up between pounds and kilograms led to only half the required fuel being loaded. At an altitude of 41,000 feet, while en route to Edmonton, the aircraft's left engine shut down, followed shortly by the right engine. With both engines out, the aircraft lost all electrical power and became a glider. Captain Robert, Bob, Pearson and First Officer Maurice Quindle immediately took action to manage the situation. Captain Pearson, an experienced glider pilot, used his gliding skills to control the aircraft and extend its glide distance. First Officer Quindle suggested diverting to the former Royal Canadian Air Force, RCAF, base at Gimli, Manitoba, which he was familiar with from his military training. However, what they didn't know was that the runway at Gimli had been converted into a drag racing strip and was being used for a car racing event on that day. With no engine power, Captain Pearson performed a dead stick landing, landing without engine power. The crew executed a side-slip maneuver to reduce altitude and speed, and then touched down on the makeshift runway at Gimli. Despite the challenges, the aircraft touched down successfully. The nose gear collapsed, but the plane skidded to a stop without breaking up. The skillful landing avoided a potentially catastrophic outcome. Unbeknownst to the pilots, the runway was being used for a family day event, including car races. Miraculously, no one on the ground or in the aircraft was seriously injured. Only minor injuries occurred during the evacuation, but all 69 passengers and crew survived. The investigation determined that the fuel miscalculation resulted from confusion between metric and imperial measurements. The ground crew and flight crew were not fully accustomed to the metric system used by the new aircraft, leading to only 22,300 pounds of fuel being loaded instead of the required 22,300 kilograms. The investigation praised the flight crew for their exceptional handling of the situation, particularly Captain Pearson's gliding skills, which were instrumental in the safe landing. The aircraft, nicknamed the Gimli Glider, was repaired and returned to service. It continued flying for Air Canada until it was retired in 2008. The incident led to improvements in fuel calculation procedures, training, and communication to prevent similar errors. It also highlighted the importance of pilot training in unconventional situations.